welcome to another episode of the Black Guy Who Tips podcast. I'm your host, Rod. Joined as always by my co-host,
Karen.
and we're live on a Saturday, right into the afternoon. First day of the NBA official playoffs. Basketball on all day.
Yes, sir.
Love it. We love to see it.
Yes, sir. I think game started. First game at 1.
1 o'clock.
Last tip-off is at 8:30. I'm glad because bitch, I can't stand them 10:30 games. Well, like on East Coast, like, it'd be like 7:30, but it's like 8:30 our time. So I was like, good, because honey, them I don't be staying up. I can't be up to 2 a.m.
Well, I can, and I still just can't wait to get into this basketball. It's my favorite time of year.
Yes,
NBA
it's the
playoffs.
most wonderful time.
And I think this might be the best playoffs. This could be the best playoffs of all time. Straight up. Because I can't think of a team that doesn't have a flaw. And I can't think of a team that couldn't put it all together. And that's like, I'd say like 6 to 8 teams could put it all together and somehow win this shit.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
It's almost in anybody's cool. It's like when you look across the board, you go, there's not a team that you can say definitively, hey, this team's going to win it all. None of them. They might have stars. Some of them might have 2 or 3 stars, but
you could rank them like most likely, but I don't think there's a lot of teams. I couldn't count. There's like 8 teams that I feel like I can't count out.
Nope, because they'll fuck around and get their shit together and just go on a run, and next thing you know, they don't win it all.
So all that being said, you know what I'm saying, we're going to talk about your feedback. We're not going to just talk about the NBA playoffs. That's a different show. But you can find us everywhere you find podcasts. Search the Blackout Tips. Leave us 5-star reviews. Leave us comments. Look in the show notes. That's how you leave us feedback on our website and everything like that. We're going to take the time out to do that. The first people we want to shout out, though, are actually people that come through. They go to the first page of our website. They look on the right-hand side, and they just give us money. I know, it's crazy to me, too. But they just give us money. They don't want nothing in return, really, except we give them a shout-out. And that's what we're about to do.
Have your attention. You are now listening to Charlotte's Rod and Karen. We welcome the good folks who tie to the Black Guy Who Tips.
Oh, yes. New date, new collection plate. Let's talk about this money. Tanya S. Marlon B. Yes, Marlon B. Wonga from Australia, down under. Dalstra J, Tiffany B, Shirley Wong Esquire. Please say the Esquire. She went to school.
Yes, she did.
Mr. Spam from the Spam. I think it's a Mr. Spam podcast now. Yep. Alfonso M, Lindsay B, J Full, Palmetto Stone Magic, David from Brooklyn, Jasmine J, James C, Autumn W, Latricia C, Unbridled Love, and Dr. Professor Bambi, who I heard get shouted out on the Michelle Mission podcast. So I wouldn't listen to their latest podcast.
She be everywhere, don't she?
They shouted out her book, Laughing Mad. I got a copy of it in the other room. So it was dope to hear that, I love to see worlds collide like that.
Come on. She out here doing great things.
Shout out to the professor. Play me out. All right. Let's get into these 5-star reviews. Now, I'm not gonna lie. The last show we did was the 8th, right? But I don't remember reading these reviews from the 6th, 7th, from the 6th and the 7th. So I don't know if I read them or if just they populated late. So I'm gonna I might be reading them again, is what I'm trying to warn y'all.
Sometimes they do. Sometimes people put them in, and sometimes they might take a few days to show up. And I think when it pops up, it shows like the day they submitted it, not the day Apple put it up. I don't know if that makes sense. Like, and then those might be 2 separate days.
Yeah, so I don't. Anyway, you might be getting your review read twice. I don't know. The first one is from the 6th. It's from Survey Says, United States of America, Apple Podcast. Mess around and miss out if you want to is the title. 5 stars.
Oh shit! Now
I love a warning.
Come on.
This show is consistently fantastic. Rod and Karen are creators of amazing, funny, insightful, and inclusive content. They are legit regular people who like engaging with listeners and care about putting out real takes. No bandwagon riding hot Twitter takes for clout here. Oh, I don't think I've read this before because I'm ready to praise dance over this compliment.
No, we haven't read this one.
I pride myself on this. And it's because they stay true to themselves and they've been in this game and thriving for like 12 or 13 years. I listen most days while working or around the house. Warning, your coworkers will suspect you're crazy after they hear you cackling frequently from this show. So if you care about appearances, you might want to say this for the house, the car, or anywhere else on earth. Personally, I put so many people on this show at the job just because they wanted to be less miserable at work too. Listen, hey, you know when they ask like who, so that's like who's the audience for this show? Who's the audience for anybody that's ever created something? Y'all know that's a question people ask. And I created it for the me that was at work, that wanted something to listen to, that hated my job.
Yeah, you stuck to 8, 9, 10, 12-hour shifts.
Yeah,
right?
and
boring and mundane.
There's a reason we don't do a show like one time a week like a lot of podcasters do, and it's because I worked 5 days a week.
Right.
And the people that at the time that I listened to, Keith and the girl, they did a show 5 days a week, and it honestly like made my life better at work to be able to escape for an hour a day and just listen to two people talk, and two people I wanted to hear talk about something. And it wasn't super edited, and it wasn't, let's go get an interview and a clip and get a producer and stuff. It was like, no, we're just talking. It sounds great. The quality was excellent, but we're just talking and we're just normal. And it's like working in a place where people you want to talk to, as opposed to, where I was.
Yeah, and also depending on when people find our podcast, a lot of people have the luxury, like they'll be hearing a lot of old things for the first time. Because, we have some old heads that's been around since the beginning. Even they'll go back and listen to some old episodes. But like if you just recently found us, you can go back and listen to the other episodes. And people have done that before. And we can see the downloads. Like every now and then, we'll see like all the numbers like go up because this one person, a few handful of people are like, I want to go back and hear them all. And it's literally hundreds of hours. So if you go back, you can literally get you through probably not years worth of listening if you like actually just listen all the way through.
Yeah, I wanted to escape is in my mind, but also be entertained, hear some perspectives I might not normally hear, think. So and I think there's all kinds of people that check us out. But if you ask me who the show was for, it was for me when I was going through that. Personally, this show is part of my self-care regime because it just feels so good listening and learning with Rod and Karen. And while you can listen for free, you can also pay for that work they stay putting in. They have like 11 episodes and shows, but don't let that intimidate you. You can hop in at any point, become a tipper, and don't sleep on those feedback episodes. They cut up on those just like the regular show. Get into it. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. We do got 5,100 episodes in front of the paywall, behind the paywall. And, within, maybe the last year or two, we added just the tippers. And so it's one of these things where we try to accommodate all of the budgets. Why? Because we want all of the coins, and we know everybody might not have the whole 15, but what you got the 5. So, we appreciate everybody that's like, I want something extra. And this is one reason why we work so hard, and one reason why it's particularly if you go premium, it's so much shit behind the paywall, is because we don't want nobody to ever say they ain't get their dollars worth.
And then also there's just stuff that people may want to hear us talk about that we don't talk about on a normal show all the time, on a regular show all the time. So it's a way you can get into that specialized stuff. So if you do want to hear our sports takes, if you do want to hear what we think about nerd stuff, there you go.
Movie reviews. Because the thing, you can get our movie reviews on the free feed, but with the premium people and just the tippers periodically, y'all get the first, and everybody else gets them like a month later.
Right. All right. Let's get into. Let me finish this review. Reading up. The next one is I know what the last thing I was gonna say. And the feedback shows have been getting downloads like the regular shows for a while now. So yay! I'm glad to see that, because it always is weird to me, and maybe it's because we did less shows, so people. But it's always weird to me to not listen to the feedback show. It's almost seemed like it will work the opposite, where if I didn't have time, I'd listen to the feedback show and then go back and be like,
oh,
this is what
we did.
Yeah. Okay, so this episode had a lot of people talking about it. Let me go check it out. But that's just me. Jay Del Negro says, one hell of a show, 5 stars. This show reinforces how important informed perspectives and experiences through living are. This show is the blueprint for every little independent podcast that could. I celebrate and champion the partnership and adoration these two have for one another, not simply as co-hosts, but most importantly as married folk doing this thing called life together, and it often pours out in the making of episodes. And I personally love that. Listening to 2022 episodes of Rod First Landing in New York City and the outpouring of affection between Karen and Rod made me tear up. Thug tears, of course. Of course.
The only type of tears.
Made me tear up a bit. And I honestly believe that sincerity shared between them during those episodes sold me on their characters and individuals who trust and believe in one another and who can be mad at that. Exactly. Who could be mad at that? Also, knowing Rod is of the former BGOL message board legion is dope on a personal level. This podcast is major. BGOL is Black Girl Online. And Black Girl Online was like a porn message board. Mm-hmm. But it's so weird to say, but it's like also it was kind of like a community.
It was.
Like I guess all message boards are, but with the hub of the message board being people who are attracted to Black women that in doing porn.
Yeah, basically. Because Roger went on there, but it's like they would talk about their best, they great. You could find treasures and like get on to people you never heard of before.
I think that's where a lot of my knowledge of porn comes from. Like it's just from like you go on there because you go on there, you could talk about music, but it's also like the latest update to Booty Talk is up there too, and so people are having discussions about like more than that. Now I didn't necessarily participate in a lot of discussions. I think my username was literally like the lurker because I wasn't really interested in going back and forth over like who was better, Cody Bryant or Baby Cakes. I was like I'll leave that up to y'all to fight about. But
yes, you ain't trying to figure out who gave the best blowjob in Black Cheerleaders number 185.
Yeah, I'm just trying to download and leave, but because it was like Black people, there was a lot of like discussions too that were about race and gender too, a lot of it being misogynistic. There was some homophobia and shit on there too, don't get me wrong. Mm-hmm. I still remember being so mad at this thread one time because it was a bunch of we was on Black Girl Online and niggas was talking bad about Serena Williams. I don't, and this was catsuit Serena. Like I was so mad, I was like, fuck these niggas. But I didn't type nothing because honestly I was lurking. I was just on there to get the screenshots of the pictures.
She was built like a motherfucking brick house. What are we talking about here?
Right. I'm like, if she was in Booty Talk 37, y'all would be worshiping this one. Anyway, the point being, it is a small world because like that, SOHH was a message board I was on a lot. And of course, like SOHH, I could be on at work, but because it didn't have porn on it like that. But Black Girl Online, never, not once. But nah, it was back in the day, man. I still like when I was in college, my roommate, we would like look at the site together because the internet was still kind of new. Mm-hmm. And it's not like you look at it together and you're jacking off. That's what I'm saying is like it was more like a communal, like look what this nigga said. Like it wasn't a look at this girl titties. It was like, hey, they talking about basketball, man. You really think this or whatever. So it is kind of interesting to think about that shit being kind of like the ground layer of the internet and how many of us have lived through that. And yeah, I guarantee you there's probably a lot of BGOL people out in the world being successful. They just don't talk about it.
Right. They like to leave that behind in the past.
Yeah. Nobody was on the message boards anymore.
Right. Nobody. Okay.
Best podcast for Black home health workers. Update for 2023. Rod and Karen are the best podcast to listen to and all the craziness in this world and not getting immense anxiety. During the beginning of COVID as a healthcare worker, it was crazy. And Rod, thank you for still reporting on COVID. People are still getting sick. Congratulations to you both. I love to see good, well-deserving, non-evil people winning. You deserve all the accolades and opportunities that come your way because of the positive light you put in the world. And if you are Black and work in the home health, listen to this podcast. I've been listening to Rod and Karen for 5 years. This podcast helps to clarify and rethink the onslaught of information you see on social media. Yeah, man, I think social media is probably like the worst place to get our COVID information. And I don't mean it because of just the disinformation. I mean, because a lot of this stuff is through the prisms of people's anxieties. And so if you follow people who typically have a lot of anxiety and a lot of negativity, depression, stuff like that, the news they share is going to affirm that. And so it's going to all be the worst. And if you follow people that are in denial, you're going to get a lot of denial stuff. If you follow, so it's like it's their personality filters the news they bring you. And I'm trying my best to be sober when it comes to this news. So I get my news from like articles and websites that are like the AP News and stuff like that, so that I'm not just out here like reporting every variant that got 3 people sick and be like, guys, it's the one, we gonna die, don't go outside. And I'm also trying to like soberly look at the situations of like what the government will have to do, what other countries are doing, because a lot of us are so myopic, we only think about America. And we think about America, if you listen to this show, you probably think about America in some very cynical points of view, as the hosts do many times. But if you go outside of our borders and look at other countries, you realize like America's not alone in this. Like America's not at the forefront of like, man, fuck COVID. Like if you look at these other countries, there's some that are worse, there's some that are better, and there's some that just have different challenges. They're not as population dense, or they are more population dense. So all that stuff to say, like, you have to filter through and have some level of like sober analysis of like, it's still out here. You still need to be cautious. But if you think you're gonna just like stay in your house for the rest of your life, that's fine. But that's probably something deeper than COVID.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
There's other things happening and other things going on that you may need to address. And I know, since we've been doing this podcast, everybody knows since the beginning of COVID, like my perspective has changed. My anxiety has gone down a lot. As we even had shows where Roger be like, you all right? Type of thing. Because like I was to the extreme. That was me, bitch. Like, what the fuck we going outside? Everybody like that, like, I don't understand. I was just lost and I was confused and I was bitter and mad and upset because I felt like a lot of this bullshit did not have to happen if people would have had fucking common sense and being considerate and wore their goddamn mask. No, we got rid of it, but it would not have rampaged and took out as many people as it did. Mad at the presidency at that time and just distrust everywhere. But as time has gone on, I've kind of reined those things, got those things under control, understood what triggered those things, and are aware and alert of how these things impact me, and to look at them and be like, is this worth me going on 10? No. Okay, let's ramp this down to a 2, and like you said, filtering it through a place of non-anxiety will actually help you look at it from a more logical spot. But if your anxiety is flaring up, everything's going to be the worst.
Yeah, and if you get your information from those people, that's terrible. Like that, there's like, also there's no accountability on social media with the COVID stuff. So like, what happened to those people that were doctors who claimed we were going to have, so many more deaths than we did? That so many more people are going to get it than we did. There's never any accountability for those people. There's never any like posts where they come back and be like, guys, I was out here saying the sky was falling and it was going to be worse than it was. My bad. Or the people because at every step that the government reduces anything, there's always a bunch of like, we gonna die, y'all. And at the same time, there's never like a moment of like, okay, my projection was off, or they did it. It really, the numbers didn't jump up, so we were wrong. There's never any of that. But then at the same time, There's the other side of this where you had the people that have been throwing caution to the wind since the fucking beginning. They've been in denial since the beginning. And them motherfuckers will also have you out here risking it all for no fucking reason. You know, you see the pictures on the gram and stuff. So I think there's like a happy medium. And at the end of the day, we're going to have to live with this thing, which we've been saying for years. And
I had to come to the reality of that, because I think I was one of the people that was in denial of that initially. All jokes aside, I was like, well, why? We shouldn't have to if people would just do what the fuck they want to do. And I had to, all jokes aside, realize that humanity fucking sucks and people don't care.
If we're being honest, though, there's no country where they're not.
Agreed.
So it doesn't even make, like, we had test case like China where they locked everyone down and they still are at the same place we are. You just gonna have to live with it.
Agreed.
So it's like I said, this is why I didn't want to. I've tried to be as intentional with our COVID coverage as possible. You know, even to the point of sometimes having to be like, hey, let's rein it in, because this isn't about feelings, it's about facts. And if we can keep it factual, we can have a discussion. But if we just want to talk about our own anxiety, then the whole world's going to be a mirror for that. And if we want to talk about our own denial, the whole world will be a mirror for that. And I don't want to do that kind of show. So I'm glad that someone who works in healthcare wrote in to say like they appreciate our coverage, because a lot of people either stop talking about it or they talk about it in such broad sweeping terms that they might as well not talk about it at all.
Agreed. And I'm actually, I appreciate you allowing me to go through this, because I'm not the only one that felt the way I did. But, you know, you're just talking and you just be like, okay, Karen, these are the facts. You know, a lot of that kind of helped me and helped the audience kind of work their way through their anxiety and work their way through this, I could say this, the sky is falling type of mentality that, you know, you kind of allow in your own brain. And for some people online and social media and stuff, impacted people more than they were willing to admit that it was impacting them. And it was one of those things where, you know, I am to a point now where I'm not extremist anymore, you know, but I do things with caution. But I'm not like shut everything down, lock everything down, because now I'm to the point where I came to my own reality, because, you know, a lot of people create their own reality. I came to the real reality that we will always live with this no matter what. And before I was talking about, and also, like you say, I am American. So all jokes aside, I was American, self-centered. I'll think about the fucked up shit here in America, not even consider the rest of the world. And you covered news from all over the world. So you gave me and other people the perspective, go, hey, it ain't just here. That's when I was like, oh, okay. Everybody's dealing with this. Everybody's coping with this. It ain't just here in America that we're dealing with this bullshit. And it helped open my eyes, and it helped my anxiety go down, and it helped me put my feet on the ground of the reality of what's happening around me, the real reality of what's happening around me, and not the reality that my mind had decided was the reality.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that. I think, you know, you provide a perspective during the show, and there's listeners that probably can relate to that. And, you know, sometimes it will actually make the segment hard to do, because I just want to do the news part, and then I have to feel like, okay, let me talk you through or let you express, you know, the emotional side of it or the personal side of it. But when I'm trying to be as impersonal as possible, because I didn't want to because my personal anxieties and stuff are different than the news we're covering. And I didn't want to do a segment that was just, because I feel like every podcast is doing this segment of like how I feel about COVID, and not too many people are doing the segment of like, here's the reality of it. And that's what I was trying to get to. And so, you know, I'm a patient person, so I wasn't going to be like, man, shut up with some shit. And I also think there's a place for that. I'm the one reading the articles. You're listening for the first time. Right. And so you always are going to personalize it. Like that's going to be your frame of reference. And for me, you know, I think it made the segment better, because I feel like there's people that can relate to that. But at the same time, yeah, the 97th time, it was like, all right, we know, Karen. At the beginning, you didn't want to come out the house.
I was like, lock everybody up. Or you wouldn't kick me off that hill.
Well, who would have thought the person that was on Black Girl Online talking about fatted girls number 7.
Come on,
would be giving y'all the COVID news. That's what I'm saying. Don't tell
Black
me
Street hookers 45.
Don't tell me to stay in my lane. Is what I'm saying. We don't have lanes over here. We just doing what we want to. Okay. When I was watching Ass and Mo Ass 7,
come on,
I didn't know that this. Not sorry. Back to this. I've been listening to Rod and Karen for 5 years. This podcast helps clarify to rethink the onslaught of information you see on social media. I listen to this podcast daily on my job and end up laughing at Karen's puns and Rod's white girl voice, which I am never prepared for. And I laugh till my stomach hurts. I'm a healthcare worker and it's tough. And so I appreciate Rod and Karen, and laughs help me get through the day. Thank you, Rod and Karen, for all you do. Stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you.
And the last one is funny. 5 stars by Awkward CC. Oh, I'm sorry. The last one was Stack Bajan. Stack Bajan. Oh, is that how you say it? Bajan? I think that's right. God, I hope I haven't fucked that up. Funny, Awkward CC says, when you say is the easiest money I've made since I was hooking, I crack up every time. Thank you, Awkward CC. I don't know. I didn't realize I was saying that phrase more than once, but okay.
I guess they hear hundreds of hours of us, so
I must have they made that joke before somehow, and I did not realize
some of our personalities sometimes.
Trey said freak hoes and flows 8. Okay, the chat room is going in.
Come on,
he must have been on BGOL.
Come on, I've seen those.
You know what's crazy is I was thinking about this the other day. First of all, almost all porn titles are disrespectful, which now in the age of people uploading their own porn. Even if you like amateur porn, something in our brain, whoever uploads it, still uploads it disrespectfully, even if it's them.
I wonder if it's catchy words or I
don't think it's catchy words. It's like we're doing something naughty, so I'm gonna name it something naughty. But I be thinking about this sometimes because you'll watch like amateur porn and it's clearly like a loving couple having sex.
Yes,
and it's nothing like if you just watch the video with no title, you're like, oh, this is nice. Look at this couple and they're having sex in their, I don't know, in their hotel room or something. Right. But the title would be like, dumb bitch fucks.
Yes, and I'm like, but
stupid ebony slut. I'm like, what? Why did you type that?
Yes, and I'm looking like, but you're looking like, but they look like it's a loving
That's
couple.
what I'm saying. Like, did you?
It's nothing harsh in this.
Did you download it? And then someone else upload, like, did you first upload it, and it was, me and my wife, and then someone else uploaded it later and said dumb bitch, or was it like you uploaded it but to stay anonymous? You didn't want to like put yourself out there and be like, me and my girl at the party or whatever. So instead you like, no one would ever name a video like that. So I'm gonna name it black hoe fucks young stud or whatever. I'm like, why do y'all name everything that?
I think it's a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
Who needs that? Like, people, like, clearly at this point, people will upload like a video of 2 people having sex and just be like, stepmom had sex with son, and you're like, that's clearly not what's happening in this video.
And particularly if you watch enough porn, you go, I've seen this clip, and this is not true.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm saying, even if it's amateur, like you haven't seen it before, that's not what's happening.
Agreed.
Like, you just added that. There's no, like, I guess some people need it. They need to go, this really is stepmom. I'm like, are there people that y'all believe that? Or
I hope y'all don't.
Anyway, this is something I was thinking about. Porn is crazy. It's the one place where everybody is the worst self when it comes to it's like stepmom had sex with son at the football game, and in the comments are like, what's her name? What movie this from? I'm like, we're terrible people. Anyway, let's talk about the feedback on the actual like show. But first, to play music so I know where to put commercials later. Someone in the chat said, I rarely see sensual amateur shit. Let me tell you something, Kaylin. It's your algorithm.
It's out there.
No. It's your algorithm. So you see what you into.
Message.
I just watched the documentary Money Shot, the Pornhub story on Netflix. And I thought it was actually a pretty fair documentary. Someone said they thought it was like a bait and switch from like the anti-porn people, but I don't think it was at all. I think it presented pretty nuanced perspectives and bigger pictures for all of it. It's an hour and a half on Netflix. I recommend it for everybody. But the one thing about that Pornhub shit is like the naked algorithm is like, that is the algorithm that doesn't even pretend to not be about you.
Yeah.
So whatever you've been clicking on, looking at,
it's real.
It's
good.
The most aggressive algorithm out there.
It will find the shit that you type in there. So whatever y'all are seeing when you click in, it's you being reflected back at you. And how you want to change it, click on different shit. So, you know, if you, and as a recommendation, like, if you want to pay for better stuff, you can. I think porn is just like, we're independent creators, so there's a lot of people that do porn that are, and a site that I think a lot of people might be into, if you're looking for something different, is Black Touch. Is BLK Touch. You can find them on Instagram. This is not an ad for them. Because I was like, how come? No offense to my Black creators, but like, it's so much porn where it's like, nigga, this is just a laundry room with a mattress on the floor. Why? What is this? We don't got to live like this, y'all. No, we don't have to hear reruns of Jerry Springer in the background. Yeah. What is happening here? We can hire cameramen too, guys. Come on. We can have a little cinematography and plot. We don't got to. You are not the father. What is happening here? So I'm just saying, like, you know, they fucking it. You be like, okay, it's about 2:00 in the afternoon, right? Exactly. Come on. Why can't we have makeup artists and hair artists and soundproof rooms while we having sex too? Like, I don't need to get caught up on the context clues from the news. It's distracting. Come on. I can't jack off and be thinking like, now what date was this? Because they talking about a flood in Alabama. Now was that 2018 or was that 2019? Yeah, it's too much. Yeah, so we don't want to hear somebody talk about mama, somebody kid knocking on the other door. Right. So Black Touch, BLK Touch. You can follow them on Instagram if you want a preview. It's nothing on Instagram that's like unsafe for Instagram. Like, you're not gonna kick off, but like, it was like high quality. Like, people spent the money to make dope scenes and stuff like that. So anyway, just if that's something you're into. All right, now let's get to these comments. Episode 2690, Nizzle Please, was our feedback episode. We got 3 comments. Appia says, using an airplane bathroom isn't great, but I use it and it's okay. But people supposedly have sex in there. Can you imagine? It's so small and the opposite of sexy. The opposite of sexy. Yeah, that Mount High Club thing, just, I never understood it. I don't think it's just because I'm fat either. I really think even for everybody, it's a tiny ass bathroom and it's not a sexy bathroom. Like, it's literally like the bare minimum of stuff. You're literally just doing it to say you did it. Like, because it can't be comfortable. Yeah, it's got to, like, maybe if you're like young and so horny, you don't give a fuck, you know, right? More flexible. Yeah, it's not even a flexible thing. Because it's not about, it's just, yeah, I just think it's not for me. It's just not my thing, but I know there's people that's into that, so I don't want to shame them. But, yeah, like somebody said, it's a risk. Like, a lot of people, we might get caught. Yeah, I think it's like a mental thing. I don't think it's a sexy thing. And like, I feel like, put it like this: if they made a porn movie about having called the Mile High Club, the bathroom would be a fake bathroom. Of course, and it would be a lot larger than the real one. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It would, like, they would not like because the ideal sexual fantasy is gonna be, you got a lot of space to do a bunch of shit and be in there 30 minutes and nobody else in line. Right. Nobody knocking on the door. I don't think that's what's happening. AJ says, hello, Rod and Karen. Another great show as always. I always look forward to listening to this podcast. Since being a premium member, I've been listening to the past episodes of Balls Deep, Pregame, and The Nerd Off. Hearing your voices got me through the transition of starting work from home and a few long nights. After I started listening to past episodes of Blackout Tips, I created a playlist from the music I could recognize being played in the background.
Well, I actually have a playlist of some of that stuff on my Spotify. So if you add me on Twitter or something, I can send you the list. But I haven't updated it in years because that was back when we used to play music in the background of every show. Because our audio was so bad that I thought, mistakenly, honestly, I thought, oh yeah, adding more noise to the back will make it seem like our mics are less shitty and that was
adding more racket.
Yeah, now it's even harder to listen to us over this other shit, even though it did give us kind of a cool cookout vibe, or like we were sitting around like a table, just talking at a family reunion. So to some extent, it didn't bother me, because it definitely separated us from a lot of shows, and that was before there were a lot of podcasts, and then you start listening to more and more people that kind of either did what we had the same idea or heard what we did and did it too. Yeah, I ended up taking it out. Brooklyn Shoebay says, I do go back and listen to some of your shows, mostly Balls Deeper pregame. When you and Karen do a callback to an old story, I'll go to the original episode. It's like a time capsule. Because the poll was, do you go back and listen to old episodes of our show? Because someone wrote in and said they do. 18% say yes, a lot. 54% say yes, a little, and 27% say not really. I don't blame any group, but I love that. Big. Yeah, I love that somewhere around 75% of y'all go back and listen to episodes once in a while. That's beautiful to me. Thank you.
Yeah, I have some of my own episodes that are some of my favorites, and I thought about going back and just picking them, but that's work. Like I was decided, it's certain things where I want to make lists and chop shit up, but I have to, sit down, figure out how to edit. It's really time consuming, y'all.
Yeah, you love a list.
Yes, I right.
Karen stands a list, y'all.
I thought about it. One of my favorite episodes is a Simpin Saturday. That's one of my personal favorites. Another one of my episodes. This episode, I don't remember the name of this one, but when I go ahead.
Nope.
Oh, sorry. One of my one's the first time we talked about Bullet Ball. That one was fun. Another one of my favorite episodes is where I gave like a listing. I list like a whole bunch of porn stuff and was saying like, why do porns do this? I forgot the episode, but it's like old episodes ago. But those are some of my personal favorites, and periodically I will go back and listen.
So the poll, that was the poll. We got one comment on YouTube I forgot to read. White Label American Podcast says, as soon as I opened YouTube on my phone, it asked me if this video was a good recommendation. I responded, although they yet to buy tickets to the Zamunda cruise to Africa, this is the best recommendation ever. Instead of scams, YouTube be sending me in the past, the audacity. Don't forget, discount prices are available to fans of the best podcast in the world. All right, y'all gonna end up on the middle passes. Don't take that cruise. The poll on the webs on Spotify, 16% and 44%, so that's around 60%. Listen to, so 16% go back and listen to episodes a lot. 44, yes, a little. 41%, not really. And I think I'm a not really type of person. I don't typically go back and peruse a podcast's archive unless it's a narrative podcast where you need to have heard episode 1 to catch up to episode 2. But if I'll catch on to a new show, I normally just go from that point forward. But it just depends on what the show is about and how many episodes. Steve, we got the Q&A was just me with 3 heart emojis. Stephen A says, odd hearing myself on the Stephen Walker. I'm sorry, I said Stephen A. Stephen Walker. Although it would be funny if it was Stephen A.
Yes, sir.
Odd hearing myself on the voicemail. Man, I am so using We Grow from now on. But no, I'm so using We Grow from now on. If y'all like the what is this? ICK, Another World anime, then check out Jobless Reincarnation or Konosuba, both on Crunchyroll. I think we might be watching Jobless Reincarnation. I'm not sure.
Possibility.
Leash says 2 heart emojis and a kissy face emoji. James says 2 hands, 3 heart emojis with that making the heart sign with the hands. Neil says, I love y'all. Y'all both so funny. And every time I listen, I feel like hanging with family. That's what we're trying to make, Neil. Fifi, 3 heart emojis. Olivia, 3 hand heart emojis, and it says right back at you guys, heart emoji. Mike says this AOT cover is dope. The cover for art for the show was the Blackout Tips look like Attack on Titan. And Kaden just says smiling, huggy looking emoji. Look at all these warm vibes. That's why I made the comment that. All right, episode 2691. The 9 phrases. We only got 2 comments on this one. Appia says, your relationship seems beautiful and like it's really working. I think it's a miracle that any relationship can last, including my own 17-year lasting happy one, with life being so complex. But maybe it's the amazement that's the secret. I hope so. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, definitely being grateful, definitely appreciating people, communicating, like, you know, letting people be themselves too within a relationship. I think that's what's really hard for a lot of people, is a lot of control and power issue stuff that people have that I think everybody innately has them, because we were all conditioned in a society, right? We grow up thinking like this is the way for a partner to be. But I think learning that stuff and disentangling that and finding out like what you really need and what you really want and
what's important and what's not.
Yeah, right? And how to show up for somebody else that's not you. Those are the things that I think are the most important stuff. But, you know, we don't really do relationship advice in general. It's not really a thing we do on the show. Sometimes we'll talk about relationships, but one of the reasons, like, I feel like it's very specific to each couple or each person, a throuple, or however you get down in your life. It's really up to you individually to figure that shit out. And you can hear people talk about stuff and it may be affirming, and you may even learn something. But at the end of the day, it's what makes you comfortable. I can only speak about what makes me comfortable.
Agreed. And like I've have, you know, girlfriends I've talked to. We've been friends for years. I've talked to them, you know, we've been friends, marriage, divorce, kids, posts, and everything. And, you know, when they're talking about relationships, the number one thing I tell them is, hey, I don't have to live with the consequences of the repercussions of staying, and I don't have to live with the consequences of the repercussions of leaving. I will support you no matter what your decision is. Ultimately, the decision is yours. And a lot of people, they don't want to make the decision. Or a lot of times they know the decision they should make and they want to ask you, so if something goes wrong, they can blame you for it. No, bitch, make your own decisions.
Yeah, absolutely. Evie says, I can't wait for that Freaknik documentary to come out, because even though I never went, I knew who did, and they all said it was wild and sometimes dangerous, especially for women, but something not a lot of folk talk about were the fights, and sometimes people coming out of town being disrespectful to the locals cause all out brawls. It will be interesting to see which direction this documentary goes. Yeah, I think that's true too. I think also they almost have to do it, because I don't know how you can talk about the city shutting it down without at least broaching how the city was able to get the support to shut it down, because it was a lot of local people that was like, man, shut that shit down, because not everybody was a college aged, let's go have some fun, we love to see the extra traffic and the women in booty shorts.
Come on, you just trying to fucking make it to work. Now all of a sudden you have to call out because you've been sitting in traffic fucking 4 hours to make it to work and shit, and you're like, no, this shit got to stop.
And that's just normal Atlanta traffic. That's not even Freaknik. That's not even Freaknik traffic.
Just normal, slow ass Atlanta. We're just sitting and going nowhere traffic.
Yeah, I was just making jokes. I'm all for men being about to show all the range of emotions and crime, but if I was dating a guy on the plane that threw a tantrum like that, it would have been over. That was just bizarre. Yeah, and if I'm being 100% honest, like, it was funny, but something clearly is wrong with that dude. That is beyond, like, that wasn't the time. Like, they weren't gonna bring a therapist on the plane and make everybody late while he had an hour session. He had to get the fuck off the plane. But his behavior was so abnormal that, you know, it's something deeper to whatever the fuck he was going through. And it's easy, you know, to be more dismissive when it's like a white dude and we all can laugh and be like, oh, he's a privileged white dude in first class crying after starting some shit with the black security people, and now he's getting arrested. And it is funny optically to me as well. But yeah, there's clearly mentally something was wrong.
Yes, sir.
That's not normal behavior even for a rich white man to be like, the crying was when I was like, god damn, this is hilarious, but is he all right?
All right.
Like he need to talk to somebody. That's not a normal, like, oh man, imagine you his family and you see that video go viral and that's like your daddy or your husband or your brother or some shit, and it's like, bro, we need to like get you, were you drunk? What was wrong?
Yes, questions need to be asked.
The poll, have you ever ghosted someone you were dating? Because that's what that article, one of the articles we covered, was about. 44% yes, 56% no. And Karen says no, she's never ghosted somebody she was dating. Well, I have many times over the years. Oh my God, guys. Just last week.
Who are these people?
What? Oh, wait a minute. Oh, I'm sorry.
Do we need to have a conversation?
No, we don't. Definitely not. We don't need no communication. Let's use the 9 phrases.
I bet you the biggest reason why is because it was pre-internet. Nigga, I was gonna see you at school tomorrow.
I know. I'm just making fun of you. I think this is Jinxful or Jinxful with a B at the front. They left a comment on YouTube. I see the same thing all the time on Instagram. Folks are essentially just retweeting videos, but with themselves. Yes, sometimes it's clear because I talked about this thing I see online where people have these videos that go viral, and then the algorithm shows you another version of that video from someone else, but it's literally the same words and the same concept. It's like now I don't know who, but someone stole the idea from somebody else and tried to take all the credit. And there's never like a tag to the original person, like, hey, they came up with this idea. So I don't know who stole from who. I just know that it's a lot of unscrupulous motherfuckers out here. Sometimes it's clearly just them mouthing someone else, but other times folks are just recreating jokes and sketches. It feels like they're attempting to make it seem like they came up with it because I don't see any credit given to the originators. Exactly. All right. The comment on, first of all, the poll on Spotify, 43% yes, 57% no for have they ghosted somebody, which is literally the same percentage. So whether you have money or not, ghosting is ghosting.
Yes, it is.
And the Q&A was, we appreciate your efforts, because that's one of the 9 phrases. And people said, in the voice of the great non-pussy eater DJ Khaled, appreciate you.
Thank
Blessings.
you.
They don't want you to eat breakfast, but I do. I appreciate you. Now buy your tickets to Africa and hang out with Khaled.
No, thank you.
That's because it was from Raphael. Tiffany says, I love positive feedback in relationships. A lot of folks think nitpicking and arguing all the time is cute. That's not me. Yeah, it never was my thing. I know there's people that it's your thing, and it gives me anxiety to even be around couples that do shit like play fight, talk down on each other, like roughhouse things. Like and it's probably from like some sort of trauma or some shit in my life that makes me so anti that shit. But I don't like the insertion of violence and stuff. Like I think there's a level of like joking where that are like dark jokes that I think I can make and me and Karen can make with each other, because our relationship is so not that, like, there's never been a moment of violence between us. So like one of us might make a joke about some shit like that, but there's a safety within that relationship that where it's like, well, obviously we're joking because that has never happened and never fucking will. But there's some couples where like I'm sure y'all been around where like they argue or it gets so pointed or mean, and maybe they need that to spice things up, because I heard people like make up sex and all that type of, like, it's hot to them, but it's just not my thing. And it's honestly one of the things that would make me not want to be with somebody is that type of, nitpicking and arguing all the time. I home gotta be peace for me.
That is my biggest thing. Home gotta be peace. And like you say, a lot of this shit, all jokes aside, stems from my childhood, because I'm gonna tell you right now, bitch, I had to deal with that as a kid, and what the fuck my mate ain't gonna do is tear me the fuck down. That's what you're not gonna do. You're not gonna do that. I'm not gonna put up with that. It's one of these things where I came to the conclusion that me and Roger are odd. And we're very odd, because a lot of people ask us, but are y'all fuss and fight? And we tell them no, and they look at us like we got fucking 3 heads. Like, bitch, I'm not gonna fight with my husband. I'm not gonna fight with my mate, my boyfriend, my significant others. Every time I open up the door, bitch, it's a motherfucking fight, from the color of my skin to my sex and gender. The fuck I'm gonna come home and fight you for? Bitch, I'll be by myself.
Yeah, I think also like a lot of that stuff is tone stuff. Like a fight to me is about tone, because we've disagreed. We've had discussions. We've, had, like, we're human beings. We've made mistakes and stuff. Like, So it's not this like, we're so perfect, guys. We've just never had a problem. And we don't understand how y'all even have problems. What the fuck is wrong with y'all? Like, it's not even like that. It's just literally like, I would never call my wife out of her name. You know what I'm saying? Like, what would be the point of that shit? You know, and now, and I think for me, I'm a calm person for the most part, but like emotions to me are not, they're not necessarily a good excuse for myself. I'm more allowing of other people and their emotions than my own in a lot of cases. So like being upset to me is a thing where I'm like, I won't talk to you in anger. I'll rather leave or calm down or have a little time by myself rather than to like bust in a room and say some shit and then later try to rationalize it with, well, I was upset. And a lot of people in life, this is the difference. I think when you say we're weird, a lot of people in life really have this like excuse of when I'm angry, there's just shit I'm not accountable for.
Right.
And I think you're always accountable, period. And now doesn't mean you won't make a mistake, but you can't just throw that at me and I'm supposed to be like, well, yeah, you were angry, so it was cool. Like, you know, and so those are my lines, but I have them for myself as well. And I think a lot of people model and mirror the things they grew up seeing. A lot of people repeat the same mistakes and the path that they experienced. So it could be that, and you know, people need to learn, need to read, people need to go to therapy, people need to learn, because some of this shit is just, to me, it's not even about romantic relationships. As a human being and as a person that has relationships of any type, there's a level of accountability and vulnerability and stuff that you have to get to in order to maintain those relationships and make them healthy. Because if not, you're just going to constantly have toxic, messed up relationships with people. And I used to have those in my friendships sometimes, and I don't anymore. Because of my own different shortcomings and stuff, and trying to be a people pleaser and trying to give everybody, like, you know, a chance all the fucking time and stuff. And it led me down some bad paths. So I would say that as a person that's experienced it. But yeah, talk to me nice.
yes. Talk to me nice. And words mean things. And like I said, it's one of those things, and this quote unquote, it might be one of those things. But when I say this, people understand. We live in an age now, and people have said this, but I truly believe this. We live in an age now where, particularly online, where you can't physically put your hands on somebody, people will talk all kinds of ways. And I lived in an age where, but dog, you talk that big shit, somebody will see you in these streets and be like, bitch, what you say? And you're going to have to back up your words. You can't just be out here just saying shit to people. Like, words don't hurt and words don't make people respond, and people don't have emotions. Like, you can't just put something out in the world and just expect that shit to fly without any consequences or repercussions to your language. And I think we live in a society where a lot of a lot of people are brought up in a generation where there's no consequences or repercussions to their language. And that's why sometimes when you see these videos and people see people in real life, but like, bitch, what you say, all of a sudden the tune changes, the fear is upon them. Yes, because it's different when you typing in words and then you having to back them up and you have to be held accountable, and somebody can physically touch you, and everybody don't give a fuck about the law, and everybody don't care about not getting arrested, you know, and shit like that. And so because of that, I try to be aware of how I treat people and what I say to people, because there are consequences to what you say.
Yeah, and I think in these romantic relationships, a lot of times it is in person. But yeah, I think, you know, how you treat and talk to people is influenced by the environment, and social media has definitely turned the way we talk to each other into like there's no consequences for this. Also, I think last thing, conflict is entertaining, and there's always going to be people who want to go viral from entertainment at this point. Like, yes, people, I like when I see those videos of a couple where like they're shitting on each other, they're pranking each other, they're doing something mean or whatever, or they're making one of these fake videos where they pretend to be fighting. I just think of, like, it feels like grifting to me. It feels cheap and commodified in a way that's not real, because I guess my brain goes to, if this is real, it's so toxic, you shouldn't be showing me this. And if it's not real, you're willing to look super toxic because they never pull the curtain back and go, guys, this is a fake video for the most part. So that you're willing to look toxic to go viral, and that says something about the superficiality of your relationship. If you're willing to break everything in your house to make a skit about what would happen if your girl deleted your 2K character, to me that's crazy.
Yes, sir.
Like we don't even play like that on the show. We used to get that feedback in the beginning of the show. It was like, oh, it's a husband and wife show. Yeah. How come y'all don't like fight or argue? Or
we
like
used to get that a lot when we first started.
Y'all don't never have a segment where y'all just disagree just to like make a point. I was like, why do you need that? This ain't reality TV for me. Why do you need a fake disagreement? And like, you just need to pick a side. Like, there's thousands of episodes. There's gonna be times where we do disagree. Mm-hmm. We just ain't yelling at each other, calling each other names.
And so people don't see it as a disagreement.
Like, it's not. I'm not doing this part for your entertainment. That's not what's funny to me.
Because these mics go off and we got to look each other in the face.
All right. Aaron says Daniel Caesar just released the album last week and it's pretty good. Oh, okay. All right. I never listened to his first album. I've been able to folk-out this one, guys. This has been nice. Okay. I've been able to pull I never liked him anyway, y'all the problem,
I was never into his music though.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's been easy for me. Mm-hmm. This is a layup. I can pull this out anytime, but yeah, I maybe I'll check it out. I mean, y'all did like him for some reason in the first place.
Mm-hmm. He probably do got some bops. You know me, I know the music but don't know the person, so I'm pretty sure he got some bops out there. I'll go, that's my jam, but don't ask me who it is now.
Episode 2692 was a favorite for a lot of people this week. It was where we talked to Vincent Williams and Lynn Webb of the Class of 1989 podcast and the Michelle Mission.
That was fun.
And my mom loved them. We got a bunch of feedback on social media about them. Some people were already fans of their show, so it was like a crossover event for them. Like, I always love a crossover. Where we're bringing in fans and they're bringing in fans. It's like, I found something new. So. Ramsey D. Jenkins says 5 stars for the entire episode. Come through with the Black film history in my Karen Morrow voice. JB from Harlem says, Karen, what would that sound like, by the way? Come through with the Black film history in your voice.
Oh, come through with the Black film history.
That's what I thought. JB from Harlem says 5 stars. Excellent show in 1989. I was a junior in high school. I skipped school to appear in the Fight the Power music video for the film Do the Right Thing with Public Enemy. That movie's impact that summer. Dinkins was running for mayor, and then they declared a state of emergency because they believed Black people would riot after seeing the movie. Yo, that's what we didn't talk about. There used to be a time when, and this used to happen a lot at Queen's Park, but there used to be a time when a Black movie came out. And these niggas act like we was gonna leave the movie and kill people. Mm-hmm. It's a goddamn fucking movie, guys. This ain't Song of the South, you motherfuckers. Y'all the ones that be doing shit after watching the movie. We didn't go out and start Jim Crow because a fucking movie told us to. But we got Radio Raheem got killed, and now y'all got to worry if we gonna burn down our own pizza spot. It's a goddamn movie. We know the difference between a movie and real life. It's the same thing with Panther. I remember all the Black, the Black films, the pro-Black films. I just remember a significant amount of trepidation, don't. And then the other one is if it was a Black movie about gang shit, like a John Singleton movie. They're gonna be shooting people at the theater. I'm like, shooting people because they saw a goddamn movie?
Right. Is
that how it works? Like Ice Cube shot somebody, I guess I got to shoot somebody in the parking lot. Boy, this country. Trey says, sending a big thank you to Rod and Karen for having the brothers from Class of 1989 / Michelle Mission podcast on the show. This is a great way to get introduced to them. I'm so glad more folks are finding out about Oscar Micheaux. Dude was definitely ahead of his time and one of the earliest Black Renaissance men. I always joke that if Black Hollywood were to ever do their own Oscars, they should be named after him. The Micheaux Awards. Thanks again, Rod and Karen, for another great episode. Peace, God. Sorry, I've been watching Wu-Tang Hulu show too much. Still haven't started that show. I'm really gonna have to bite the bullet and watch some of these Black shows, guys. I'm ever since Power, I've been like, man, for real, just what y'all niggas watching. And I know it's just TV, and
just TV.
Black people are entitled to be entertained by whatever, and there's 1,000 terrible white shows that people love, but I don't know why, man. Power was the most like, nah, man, y'all not gonna make me watch this just because I'm black. And ever since then, I feel like I've been too harsh. I've been like, I watched Snowfall, but like I haven't watched BMF. I haven't watched I quit Empire like 2 seasons in. That shit was terrible to me. The Wu-Tang Hulu show, no matter how many dudes out here talk about it, I'll be like, yeah, I'm good. So I don't know. I gotta get into the black. I still haven't finished fucking P Valley. Like I don't know what's wrong with me, guys. I'm watching Beef right now on Netflix and I'm loving it.
Yeah, a lot of people watch a lot of different stuff, and you know me, I either watch it or I don't, and I'm not gonna lie to you niggas, I ain't watching it. I don't, you can suggest it all you want to, probably never will.
I think I want to watch it. I think I'm gonna end up watching this stuff mostly for like one, the show, two, like there's jokes and references you can make if you watch that kind of shit that you can't make if you don't.
Agreed.
And people like it. Like I like black people and I like being in the know with my fam. So I'm gonna try to check some of these out, but my list is long. Anyway, very insightful show, says EVE, and great guest. Tubi movies are so horrible, they're hilarious. Most of them are shot on iPhones, and the actors are usually someone's cousin or Pookie down the street. Do you think you'll ever do a spoiled movie review or regular show about the best or the worst on Tubi? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. There I do draw the line. I don't need to be black that hard. Okay.
I'm sorry, y'all. No.
I'm not like the rest of you Negroes where I'll watch anything because it's black. I mean, come on, guys.
I told my mom I'll never be like any of those Negroes.
Okay. Some of y'all
Negroes are sick.
All right.
I might joke about it and laugh about it, but no, I'm not.
Negro, please.
I'm not even gonna lie to y'all. Don't hold your breath.
Nah, I do have a limited amount of time, guys. Like whenever Justin or somebody bring up these weird Tubi shows or like, Love at the Lockup, Mobile, Alabama. Part of me is like, bro, you got time for that? Like, what? Is there nothing else to do or what's going on? Because I feel like my schedule don't allow me to have that level of like, because if you're watching Love at the Lockup, Seattle, you're watching everything else.
Yeah, you're watching all the Love at the Lockup.
You're watching 90 Day Fiance, Locked Up Abroad. You've watched all the other 90 Day Fiancés to get to that. You know what I'm saying? Of course. So I just think I don't have the time for reality shows and scripted narrative shows. But I also do this show 5 days a week and stuff, and wrote a TV show and shit. So, all right. Do you watch movies on Tubi? Yes, 24%. No, 71%. And I'm signing up right now, 6%. And the poll on Spotify, do you watch Tubi movies? 17% yes, 81% no, and 2% I'm signing up right now. And I guess because they got the money, they would never be like the rest of you Negroes and watch Tubi. Then comments on our YouTube. Phil says, whenever someone mentions Tubi movies to me, I ask them if they read Quan Mills books. They never know who he is, so I tell people to Google him and his books. Then I wait. Every reaction has been priceless, 5 stars. Man, what a time. Quan Mills. I remember I interviewed him, man. And like, one, I cannot believe that's a real person. 2, to this day, people still cite that interview because they're like, because every once in a while, a rumor floats around on social media. It's like, Quan Mills is a white man who writes these books to denigrate the black community. And people will point them to my interview and be like, no, he's not. He is black. Don't mean you gotta support him, but he is a black man. Oh man, what a time. Oh, I still remember people quitting the show around that time because I interviewed him. And I was like, I'm sorry, but this nigga is hilarious. I didn't say like he won't be my best friend and we gonna hang out, but that episode, I was asking the questions your ass wanted to know, and nobody else was asking the questions or getting interviews with him. So you're fucking welcome. I gave you the ammo to hate him. Same thing with my Shy B interview. Like, I'm not giving them the platform to pal around. I'm asking them the fucking questions. I want to know the same way you want to know. Where does this come from? And yeah, if you don't know who Quan Mills is, Google Quan Mills. The titles are just ridiculous. The books might be written by AI. I don't know.
We don't know.
But the actual titles are hilarious. Steven says, "Oh man, I love those guys. I've been listening to them on the movie pod, and when they were the Black Tribbles. Y'all get the best guests." Thanks, Steven. My mom says, "I love this episode. Back down memory lane with these Black movies. So excited to be introduced to another excellent podcast." Well, that's why we do it. Back to Spotify. The comments, Tubi is not responsible for the content of this podcast. Raphael says, "I just want to say thank you for bringing me another wonderful podcast to my life. My birthday is next month. Gifts already started. Now, Tubi, go ahead, write them a check. I'll take one for Africa." Wow, he just pivoted from NFTs to this motherland trip, and I'm just saying, y'all gonna get over there and be like Nas at the end of Belly, talking about we finally here, Africa, and they're gonna be like, "What are you doing? And you, just show me to my house, please." What?
That ain't how this works.
Fifi says, "The Butler, Hidden Figures. My daughter and I went to the museum in DC, the African American Museum of History and Culture, and they had some actual copies of the real Green Book. We went and seen it." The Shady Dame says, "Thanks for a new podcast. Just added me some of their episodes to my queue. You guys are the best."
Yay!
Coach Malik Bailey says, "Remember seeing Boys in the Hood in the theater when I was younger. It was strange that when Doughboy got revenge, white people in the audience were clapping, but not when Trey was going to college." Okay, we see you. You kind of woke over there. he noticed that at a very young age.
Message.
Come on, message.
He took that personally. He said, "Hey, what y'all clapping for?"
I don't like that shit.
For sure, bro.
I don't like that shit.
That was him in the theater eating popcorn.
Ah!
Kadian says, "Loved this one. Thank you for bringing Vince and Lynn to my attention. I've subscribed to both podcasts, adding the show mission as a media resource in the syllabus next term for one of my courses." Yes, and if you listen to the latest episode, the one they did, the Michelle mission, after they were on our show, Lynn and Vince, it's called Space is the Place, 1974. They're reviewing the movie called Space is the Place. But they start talking about like some of their guest appearances on places and their Reddit and stuff like that. And so they talked about being on our show, and they just have such loving, kind words about Karen and her smile and how she reminds them of their aunts and all that stuff. And I really appreciated their kind words.
It was really sweet. I appreciate them, and I'm so glad we got connected with them and things like that. We'll definitely, between them and us, be reaching out again.
Yeah, shout out to Joni Douche, who behind the scenes, I hope I pronounce it right, it's not Dutch, but she Dutch, I think is how you pronounce it, but she for a long time ago, like,
she good people.
When she was working for NPR in Charlotte, they held like a podcast like meetup, right? And I think we covered it on the show, how we went out there and stuff. And it was it was interesting because like even in Charlotte, which is a city, you know, it's not New York, but it is a city, there were podcasts there. And they were talking, and it was about like possibly even working with NPR and starting a new idea for a new podcast.
Yeah, this is when they have people pitching ideas for podcasts.
Yeah, and we were not really going to pitch ideas because the problem with it is they could take your idea, possibly do it without you. Not that I think they were operating that way, but they could technically if you filled out the paperwork. They could also, use your idea. Like they may even have right to the idea depending on what you sign and stuff. And so I'm always a little wary of big companies. But we went out there, did the mingling thing, which I know is tough for me in general. I normally don't even do this mixer type of shit.
I had a good time, and what was funny when we was out there, I think we may have probably been one of the oldest running podcasts because
that's what I was gonna say. We were the oldest running.
Okay,
it's not close.
Okay, because some people was asking us questions, all types of like, I won't say basic questions, but like newbie questions, trying to figure out things.
We were definitely the oldest podcast there. We were definitely the most popular podcast there, most listened to podcast there. And like it was cool because like some people already knew us, but Joni knew us. And I think she was even on some like, I didn't expect y'all to come just because, you know, like we would be quote unquote bigger than this or whatever. But she was so cool and so nice to talk to. And I remember being like, oh man, I'm glad I came just for that, because even if we never work with NPR or anything, it's just she seemed like cool people. And so they were gonna do this is right before the pandemic. They were gonna do a Charlotte Podcast Festival. And Joni was planning in this stuff, and this was before people really knew how to do virtual stuff. So it was gonna be in person. Then the pandemic hit, and of course they couldn't do it. And they kind of scaled it down and moved it. But she was like, we want y'all to come out there. We want y'all to be on stage. Like, we're not affiliated with NPR. It was just out of like deference to the fact that like y'all are a big deal with your podcast, and in Charlotte, there's no one that's doing this bigger or better than y'all.
Yeah, like she had did her research. Like she had
and
told
we're
us, yeah,
independent show. We're a Black show, and you know we can code switch. Like we could do some NPR shit, but
of course,
it was like she wasn't even really asking us to do all that. It was just more like showing love and respect and whatnot. And then we ended up doing the podcast like the virtual podcast festival, which some of y'all even attended. And we had a good time doing that. And I think she ended up leaving NPR. She's doing some other stuff now, but the main thing was like she's kept that relationship. And so occasionally she'll introduce us to somebody and be like, had them on the show. You know what I mean? Or like, would you be interested in having this person on the show? And listen, she don't miss.
She does not miss.
We like, she's like, it's not, I don't think it's just as simple as like, here's some Black people, you know what I mean? Like it's an actual like, hey, Dr. Ray Wynn Grant, this would be a dope collaboration. And I think
great time with her.
Also, we're able to do those interviews and research and talk to these people, and I think bring them to an audience that they might not know they're out there. So anytime y'all write in and say how much y'all love guests and stuff, it just makes us feel like, yeah, this is working. So thank you. Okay. Episode 2693 is the last episode of the week. The Monkey Bar Massacre. The Rumble by the Jungle Gym. The Revenge at Recess. Appia from Germany says, people who walk around and prank others in public, especially in a country with so many guns, must be prepared to get hurt.
Come on.
Yeah, it's really suicide by prank. Sailor Agony says, oh nigga, here these leaking civil liberty ass fuckers crying again. I literally had to pause this episode to read that story. The Washington Post had a story about these leakers. So I read that one, and all that shit had me thinking Chelsea Manning and Edward Snowden are kind of how we got Trump. Cambridge Analytica, Russia 4chan, and other firms finished it. You know, that's actually a really good point. And I think one of the things, I don't know about Chelsea Manning, but definitely Edward Snowden. One of the things, the reasons that Edward was leaking shit is because this motherfucker did not like Obama and seemed kind of racist. And no one ever talks about it. You know, a lot of times it's like I think liberal people want to have transparency so bad that they'll applaud it even for the wrong reasons.
Right.
And I don't wrap my arms around these motherfuckers because I don't think they're doing it out of I'm blowing the whistle for national security. I think it comes from some petulant bullshit in a lot of cases. And I think if it was, listen, I have to expose this because this is a deep, dark secret that the world needs to know about, I would understand. But like, I don't see it the same. You know, it's like Dick Cheney threatening to reveal the names of agents around the globe because he was being petty or something. It's like, that's not, I don't applaud that. Just because it's transparent.
And now you put these people's families at risk.
Yeah, like the why matters as much as anything else. Anyway, regardless of whatever magnanimous due diligence they provided for the public, they stole information from private or public firms, white liberals whined, took awards on their behalf, made movies. Snowden, directed by Oliver Stone, to fit the state in 2013 about Julian Assange. Julian Assange turned out to be a rapist piece of shit. May Glenn Greenwald a Peabody Award winner for his story on the NSA with Barton Gelman. And once again, because White Gone White, same song, second fucking verse on Discord, no less. We lost a generation to this shit too. I'll never get over it. First off, these fuckers wanted to get caught. If you wanted to do privately do this, a fucking server service like Discord ain't it. You ain't glad to like the government, that's fine. However, when we've seen how some of our protections like the electric grid, nuclear power, and military be compromised by these outsiders who label it under declassifying for the greater good, are just doing the opposite. You just can't give a nuclear football to a leaker. That's fucking dumb. And I don't care if you're the next Albert Einstein, you're fucking us all to death. You're taking the public safety for granted. Anonymous did a lot of carnival barking during Obama years, and what? Their record on vetting law enforcement and local government was about as reliable as the Minnesota Timberwolves holding on to a lead in the fourth quarter. Activists ate that shit up on social media, so did the public, despite a lack of payoff. I know it will go viral every time. Every time Anonymous threatened to like do something to like a police city, like we're gonna get the officers of this, and then it just wouldn't happen.
Right.
They're in the dark about who was doing what in Ferguson or Sanford, Florida. Lots of hearsay shit. We don't really know, need to know if Hillary Clinton was going to talk with someone pivotal during her ambassador days under the Obama administration. Journalists did that shit, and yeah, it's complicated. Doubt it'll have a severe effect on the Biden administration, but who knows? People love outrage like a drug. Outrage cost a lot of Democratic politicians seats in the House and Senate.
Yes, it did.
Just being afraid of Barack in 2010 to 2016. Considering it's always outrage o'clock on TV and social media, who knows? Lost a ton of respect for people who turned into a bunch of X-Files experts when there was a black president leading the country, but hadn't kept the same passion under Trump.
Mm-mm.
Yep. Reporters, all of us of all sections, couldn't wait to get those jokes off. Even Obama attempting to quell concerns didn't matter. Be it drones or dispelling NSA myths, the propaganda won big time. Yeah, I'll never be over the fact that Trump did way more droning than Obama and was way less transparent about it. And no one cared.
Right. Nobody gave a fuck.
I think I may have read one, maybe two articles the entire 4 years he was in office.
Right. And so I gotta look at you niggas go, okay, well, y'all really wasn't mad.
Yeah, it's to the point where people still call Obama like the drone in chief, but it's like that title belongs to Trump now.
Yes, it does.
But we'll never talk about it. And that says a lot, because I personally think I know why we're in what that's really about.
Mm-hmm.
Those leaker years in 2010s got a lot of people paid a new job. So to see this story be a thing again, deep breath, fuck, I just hope it doesn't grow into something more. We'll see. I think also like one thing this has really done is demystify the reverence that people hold for journalists, if at all, or journalists hold for themselves. Because like watching like Matt Taibbi get played by Elon Musk, you know, watching Glenn Greenwald be exposed, like watching the dude from y'all know the number, whatever that number is, the dude that got the voting thing right that 1 year and then never again. Watching those people be like shown to be wrong and just as egotistical and just as in denial, a lot of that shit really does like make you go, oh, these are just fucking people. Cynthia writes in, I think it's interesting to see which black platforms are embracing and spreading right-wing extremism. Hint, it's not the platforms headed by black women. The interesting part about right-wing extremism, i.e. white supremacy, is that their supporters don't trade on their principles for increased popularity. They will high-five one of these black media personalities for their homophobia, transphobia, and then run around and call them the N-word with the R-E-R. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, black media personalities amplify this gotta see both sides, racist perspectives to their predominantly black audience, and it never happens in reverse. These right-wing extremists will never bring a black progressive or even moderate on their show because their audience is there for the racism first and all of the other bigotry secondary. Their viewers are going to all of a sudden start listening to or watching black programming just because their fave was on it once. They don't all of a sudden start to understand the problem with police brutality in the black community or support affirmative action. But black folks almost always become more anti-black when they pile around with those rights extremist spaces. I don't know why so many black men have a peep game that aligning with white supremacy has never been a winning strategy for the long term, or at least not for black folks. I feel you on all of this. The only thing I'll push back on is it is some of the platforms headed by black women. Like the blog I was telling you, where you can literally take the copy of the top of the article and find it on the New York Daily News. That's a Black woman blog for sure. The Shade Room, which also spreads a lot of transphobia and a lot of right-wing conspiracy shit. That, well, I shouldn't say a lot, but they've spread some. That's headed by a Black woman. So I think what's happening is that in the podcast space, in the places where you see someone on a microphone, those Black men are the faces of this to a lot of us. It's Nori, it's academics, it's Joe Budden to a certain extent. Like the people that, you know, Charlemagne for sure, like the people that pal around with white supremacists as like some type of point, or the people that want to be shown as like, I definitely don't fuck with Democrats, you know, and maybe we should vote Republican, you know, Stephen A. Smith. I think those are definitely Black men in most of those spaces that play that role, and their faces are facing the camera. But I think when Black women do it, they tend to do it through the blogs and stuff like that and not put their face to it, because I think there's a cost associated with Black women doing shit like that Black men don't pay.
Agreed.
You know, there's privilege there in that, you know, most Black men can still be accepted within the community while having some either conservative or just flat out fucked up views, you know, transphobic, homophobic, white supremacist leaning, conservative leaning views, and you can still be accepted as like a Black man. But I think when you see like the price that like a Chrisette Michele paid for just even palling around and trying to do the both sides shit, you won't see a Black woman normally put their face to that shit.
No.
You know, there's a few, Sherry Shepherd, you know, there's a few, but there's not a lot.
Yeah, and it's also one of those things. Now, you do have Black women that are over there, but for the most part, majority of Black women, we're like, bitch, what's wrong with you? And I'm not going to support that. And particularly if your whole thing is you're catering towards us, like your whole thing is us, and like Black people were like literally her, Black women specifically, it's literally her number one supporters. I've seen her live. She has a gorgeous voice, but it's one of those things where, no, sis, you wrong, and I'm not going to support it. And we're leaving, won't come back.
Yeah, so I think there's just more of a cost. I mean, we have all seen conservative Black women's hair, right? They can't come around the beauty shop no more. You can tell. You know, they've been perk plussing it. And there's a cost to it. And
it is.
Who want to lose their edges for that, you know? But yeah, so I definitely feel you. I think the more vocal, put your face on it, take a picture with this conservative person is typically like Black dudes, and especially in the podcast game right now. And yeah, we discussed it at length, and I don't think it's a coincidence that their faces are out there. But yeah, don't get fooled. There's a lot of Black women fucking around with this shit too, especially the transphobia part. Especially like these blogs that just put pictures of like Dwayne Wade's daughter out there and no comments. You can't trick me. I know I've seen the comments. That means you've seen the comments. You just look at that number going up, and you look at the likes and the comment number, and you don't give a fuck about that kid or how it makes any trans person feel to have their body and their lives examined like that, to have a child that is actually affirmed, denigrated by Black people on a Black platform in the name of Blackness, and you pretend not to see it. You pretend not to see the comments calling you out for it, and then you do the shit again like 2 weeks later, you know, putting a little Boosie on there. Those are Black women making those decisions. They just don't put their face next to it. So it ain't fooling me. Anyway, EV says DJ Academics has been a cornball for the longest, so it's no surprise he signed with a right-wing platform. Yeah, I don't think we covered this on the show, but since our show, he went to some left Twitch to go to some right-wing racist platform. But I mean, he is a troll, and like I told y'all, man, these dudes are looking at the money these white racist people are making, and they want it. They don't care about us. I've never heard DJ Academics make any point about Black people or Blackness in any way that mattered. Like, he's out for self. He knows he leans into being a troll. He leans into his people harassing folks. to me, this par for the course. And I think a lot of times giving him the reaction of helping him go viral or constantly like help, bringing up his clip so you can dunk on him, it just helps because I think you're not looking at a person that's viewing it. Their value system is not the same as yours. So you really can't say or do shit to them to like retaliate. You just got to sit up there and let it happen. He's known for such hits as it being okay for non-blacks to say nigga, being a colorist and speaking down on black women any chance he gets. His fan base consists of other cornballs or pick-me's. The right can have his goofy ass. Kara, you were on fire this episode. I laughed 5 minutes straight for Monkey Bar Massacre. You are queen of the puns.
Oh, thank you.
She was. The poll has, comments on YouTube. My mom says, awesome show. So many problematic stories. LOL. Motto, nothing wrong as long as it's funny. That's true. So we say. And the poll, has a teacher ever allowed you to fight in school? 10% yes, 90% no, and basically the same percentage on Spotify.
Who's this 10%? What was y'all at? Fair East Side? The fuck is this? I don't understand.
Oh man. Lastly, the comment was Rumble by the Jungle Gym. And Micah says, when I was in high school, there were a lot of problems with violence, and a couple kids had already gotten shot. We had a gym teacher that would allow people to fight as long as it stayed clean.
And what's clean?
I guess
no blood.
Yeah, you don't bring
no
a
black
weapon?
eyes.
You don't kill them? I don't know. Yeah. I do like the idea. Now, this is a very toxic masculinity idea, but I do like the idea. I've never seen it happen in person. I like the idea of like, fuck it. Let's get some boxing gloves and some headgear. Y'all niggas want to fight, go in the ring and have it out. Because I do, as a person that grew up in the neighborhood where I got in a lot of fights, I think there's a value to learning to fight and learning to be hit. Because I feel like there's two types of people that talk a lot of shit in the world. There's people that's been in a lot of fights, and a bunch of you motherfuckers that's never been hit. And I can smell the difference.
I've been hit before. I think I've been in like one fight, and this is when I was real young.
But you see how we had so much discussion this episode about how you don't just be out here talking to everybody crazy?
I don't.
That's because you know the value of violence. And I do.
Yes, I do.
Or more specifically, the cost of violence. And I think that's something that I speak.
I'm
not proud of speaking it, but I speak it in that I can see shit in the currency of violence and be like, not worth the cost. And then some days I'm like, I'll absolutely pay every last penny of this cost. But I know because it's been measured a bunch of times throughout my childhood of like, okay, today's the day I'm finna fight this nigga, and I really just I'm fed up, and this is the cost of if I get beat up, I get beat up. If I win, I win. But I just gotta do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and like I said, I'm a de-escalator. I like let's de-escalate this
because two things you can learn from being hit. One, what it feels like to be hit.
Yes,
which a lot of people actually do need to learn.
Ooh, some of that shit is not fun. You fuck around and see stars.
The second thing you can learn from being hit is it ain't the end of the world. It ain't the end of the world. So sometimes you get hit and you go, okay, I didn't die. I lost the fight. I'm still here. Or, the fight was a fair when it ended up 50-50, or I won the fight. But you learn something about yourself. I also don't trust people that's never lost a fight, because you just sound like a bully. That means you didn't take on no fights. You didn't take on no challenges.
Yes. Everybody was weaker than you.
You was out here playing the game on easy mode and shit. Like, nigga, please. You need to fight somebody. Everybody need to get beat up like one time. Be like, oh, this does not always work out. You can be on the right side of something and on the wrong side of an ass whooping.
You sure can.
Anyway, these are my thoughts. Lastly, we gotta get to the emails because we have no voicemails this week. Let me play a song though, so I can throw some commercials in here. You know what I'm saying? Come on. All right, you know the email, the blackouttips@gmail. Let's talk about it. Aaron says 2691 to 9 phrases. Hey, Rod and Karen. Think what also contributes to the hurt of ghosting is the type of conversations we have, especially dating online. People who people who say they online meet others at a higher rate, and it can get boring. Okay, I think what he's saying is people meet others online at a higher rate, and
I can see that.
It can get boring having the same small talk conversations every time. So people want to try and make a connection right away. And when you find that one person you really connect with after going through a lot of lanes, it hurts even more when it goes. Yeah,
I can see that.
I think it's because everybody's speeding everything up.
Yeah, that's that speed up shit.
Yeah, when you meet a lot more people, everything got to have a little faster. And I think it probably hurts because emotionally you're connected a little bit faster and a little bit stronger than you typically would be connected to another person.
Right. Something that might take maybe a few months, you condense it down to a few weeks.
Aaron says, hello, Karen and Rod. The university I work at tracks the amount of COVID cases daily at its height. We get reports of about 20 to 30 people testing positive. Now it's less than 10 every day. Also, for the new school year starting in fall, they changed the vaccine from required to strongly recommended. So we'll see what happens. Yeah, numbers are going down, even as honestly, best case scenario, as the restrictions are going down, the numbers are continuing to go down as opposed to spike up, which a lot of naysayers said would happen. I'm sure a variant could come through and maybe change things at any time, which is why we need to keep our ear to the ground and read these articles. Don't just brush them off as like, oh, that was back during the pandemic. It's still a pandemic out this bitch. Or I guess it's endemic at this point. But
yeah,
the point being like, we still shouldn't, disregard the good news. The good news is less than 10 people when it used to be over 20, 30 at your university are getting COVID. That is good.
Yes, and the good news is with all the technology and before the pandemic, shit that used to take decades, you can now get the time is condensed because a lot of people are using the, I guess, whatever the code is for this and branching out and solving other shit with that. So you're actually advancing technology. And I personally think as time goes on, this will eventually be like the flu, where we're going to kind of take both at the same time or at least once a year. Because like I said, with the endemic, like the flu, it's going to be something where they're going to be like, okay, they pick the strands that they think is going to happen or just see what's happening around the world. And you keep getting the shots. And eventually, they're going to come out and tell us when we get the next shot. So for most people, as long as you are boosted or make sure you re-up your boost, if you haven't been boosted in a few years, the average person should be just fine.
Yeah, I just think you just can't disregard the good news. That's all. Like, and just keep your ear to the ground in case bad news comes along, because we're seeing less cases even as the restrictions have gone by, and that is honestly, it gives me hope.
Yes, it does. It gives me hope too. Like I said before, I was talking about the new shots and things like that. It gives me hope because you go, okay, we're getting these new shots, so it gives me hope that the numbers will continue to go down. It'll never be zero.
Well, yeah, a lot of people aren't taking them. I just think if the numbers are going down in an environment where most people didn't get their booster,
that's true. People
aren't wearing masks. People aren't social distancing, and the numbers continue to go down. That's best case scenario, because like that's not about our behavior. That's just the virus is either dying out or getting weaker. So and people are getting probably immunity from just catching it at this point. And there's also less reports of long COVID from the newest strain. So these are good things. I just don't think we're ever going to have a moment where it's gone.
Agreed.
Nicole says, as long as you get your weed at a legal dispensary, you don't have to worry about it being laced with stuff. Now, if you go to some random dude off the street, that's a whole other story. I'm not sure about flying to Mexico, but the times I flew to South America or Europe, if we had a layover in the U.S., you fly from Cabo to Phoenix, then Phoenix to Charlotte. Then you have to go through customs. When you go off the plane, you have to go through customs. Then you get your luggage and recheck it, go through the TSA screening. Then you get to the terminal, go to the terminal to board your next flight. They do that to make sure you don't bring things illegally. So when we fly international, we pay extra to get direct flights. I live in Phoenix, and British Airways has a direct flight from Phoenix to London. They have flight daily at 4:30 p.m., 5:30 p.m., and 6:30 p.m. You basically sleep on the 13-hour flight and arrive in London in the afternoon. They also have direct flights from Phoenix to Frankfurt, Germany. My husband and I travel with 2 small kids, so we always look at convenience and comfort. First class international. Now that's chef kiss worth it. The food is better, fully flat seats, hot towel to wipe your face prior to landing. You get a toiletry kit to brush your teeth, rinse your mouth, etc. So you arrive fresh, real pillows, unlimited drinks, and the bathroom is nicer.
Yeah, 13 hours. I could see that. And yes, if I was to do something like that, I would pay the extra money for a straight flight too, because that sounds fucking chaotic.
Yeah, I think later this year when I travel internationally, I'm definitely gonna do the first class thing to see what it's like, and it'll probably be dope. I'll care and I'll let you know how it was, because I'm really looking forward to it. Episode 2693. Hi, Rod and Karen.
What? Hey, bitch, ain't nobody going nowhere then. What is we talking about? Don't you mean 2 tickets, my nigga?
No, I'm gonna text you
Nope.
when I get there, because I don't think I have to get the WhatsApp, because I think that's the best way to communicate when I'm on the beach.
Nope, this is not work related, bitch. If you going on a vacation, we going on a vacation.
Hi, Rod and Karen. Hope you are. Karen, you ain't got no vacation time. Okay.
Whatever.
You use it all in New York. Now it's my turn.
Nope. No, sir.
Girl, I ain't going nowhere with Canada.
You got the wrong one. I don't give a fuck. We nigga. We all going.
Wow. Celeste writes in, hi, Rod and Karen. Hope you are all well. I totally appreciate your balanced take on the fact that the COVID emergency was going to end at some point and tying it back to people/citizens. One, because even if the emergency never ended, individuals, as Karen said, were calculating their risk differently from the beginning. For some people, that was the initial reasons for the push to reopen. Even as we barely shut down compared to other countries, they had to get their haircuts. They didn't want masks. They wanted to be served in restaurants and bars. Yep. Got to go to the gym.
Yeah, everything was about service. I was like, oh, y'all niggas just want to be served.
Yeah, before the vaccines and even like masking and social distancing was instituted at a lot of places, there were people that just weren't going to do any of that shit. Let's be real. And I know people that it's like gaslighting. You start going, well, I guess it's not that dangerous if everybody around me is acting like it's not. And I think that's how a lot of people caught COVID, just doing shit that we really shouldn't have been doing at that time,
Before the vaccine, yes.
But, I think that also gave people like a shell shock and a PTSD of like, even as things get better, they're like, I'm not doing anything.
Nigga, that was me.
Yeah, I was just on the Karen Hunter show yesterday. Shout out to Karen Hunter and Sirius XM. It was fun. And she was talking about how I was saying how me and you go to the movies all the time. Mm-hmm. And she was like, I just don't want to be in a movie theater, people breathing on me and stuff. Like, and I'm like, yeah, community transmission ain't happening at the theater. But I think we're all shell shocked. Mm-hmm. So like, if you don't feel comfortable, I'm not gonna tell you that you should go in there. I'm like, no, don't go in there then, because I think everything's risky. If you go to a restaurant, it's a risk. If you go to a theater, it's a risk. If you hop on a train or a bus, is a risk. So I definitely get it, but it's just that idea of like, some people gave everybody else PTSD because they never stopped doing this, even when community risk and community transmission was super high. So now that it's super low, people are still I see a crowd of people, I don't want to be there.
And you know what? And periodically, it does not happen as frequently as it did when we first started going out. But even now, if I'm standing around and too many people get around me, I gotta go. I just go into flat panic mode, because I'll be like, oh, let me put on my I got to go. Like I just be like, nope, too many people breathing, talking is too much.
Yeah, I've never been a crowd guy in the first place, so this has not been a hard adjustment. I already lived my life to avoid a lot of crowds. When I would or do go out to eat. Even before the pandemic, I liked a restaurant without a lot of people.
Yeah, we always go off times.
That was just my thing. It's just how I am. I've never needed to be in the spot, the happening spot. But there are times where I am, and Hornets games, we've gone, so yeah, it just depends on different things. 2, even with many people not taking advantage of the vaccines, a lot of people did, and it has had some impact so far in terms of severity of outcomes. Will that be true forever? Who knows? The data is evolving as time goes. 3, people, I think, looked around and saw that even when China tried for 2 years to do the most extreme of lockdowns, it couldn't stop it totally, and that is a big psychological factor as well. 4, humans always measure risk in different ways, looking through the lens of their experiences, and it's frustrating to see the conversation about mitigation and being COVID cautious seem to fall along the lines of like prison abolition. When you see TikTok videos and Twitter threads of people declaring the current government equal to 45's government and then discourage folks from voting and ignoring all the bad actors, not just Republicans, but some ignorant Black and brown influences too, to make a point is frustrating. Yeah. That's one of the reasons I don't want to one of the reasons I'm careful about shitting on the COVID response under Biden is that people are saying that shit like the numbers didn't go down,
right?
And they're treating it like Trump, and that's one of the lasting legacies of Trump is the eroding of our belief in the idea that people in the government are trying to do a good job and taking things into account that aren't just how they feel today. And Trump really broke a lot of people's brains with that, because even now they refuse to believe like, well, they did consider these things and this is the conclusion they arrived at. And most of us, if we were in this position, would at some point be like, yeah, we're gonna have to let the state of emergency pass, because
we can't keep this forever.
Here's what our markers were to make it a state of emergency. We're below those markers and we're never getting to zero. So at some point, and we don't have the money and the funding anymore, we have to let it go. But when you go on a TikTok or you see someone's Twitter and it's just like, they just don't say, go out here and get it. They don't give a fuck. And it's like, well, that can't be true.
Right.
Asking them, okay, what should we do as a society do about COVID? How are you going to make people follow the rules you set up? And if you've just been saying the government is capitalist, evil, and no good come out of it, how are you going to make any changes if you're in charge? Asking these questions and you get a lot of hyperbolic nonsense that ignores key facts. There is no surefire way to stop COVID anywhere. Neither pharma nor naturalistic solutions work for everyone all the time. So then what? Well, you can always use ivermectin. That's what me and Karen did.
No, I did not.
Go to ivermectin.com and put in code TBGWT.
No, you better not. No, sir. This is one time you can have that one all by yourself.
Raphael, this is how I'm going to pay for my trip to Africa. Okay. All you can do is mitigate the best you can for the most people you can in the face of total opposition. What that includes violence. Who do they think wants to keep putting themselves and family at risk? Yeah, they was trying to kill Dr. Fauci, but then liberal people hate him too. I don't get it. I think it just made us crazy.
I do too.
This whole COVID shit just brought out the fucking crazy in people.
And like you said, Trump's whole thing being anti everything, and everything that for a lot of people they believed, he did the complete opposite and made people just not trust the government.
There's also the stigma and judgment that seems to seep through from some of them, like, wow, you got COVID, sucks to be you. You're a ticking time bomb. Any decision you made, you deserve your fate. At the end of the day, it lacks the compassion and empathy, which is back to the original point. Individuals, nor communities, nor societies can operate 100% deaf content all the time. There are other very real health issues, mental issues, and societal issues that also demand attention. And then there are very real people and systems doing their very best to send us back to the 1800s, and nothing I've seen generally would tell me anything would stay the same or get better with Republicans. So if that is the truth, there's a lot we can do to make the situation better, but for damn sure, if any of those R's get in presidency, is a wrap. I don't know if you listen to Heather McGee's or Some of Us podcast and read the book. She actually interviews one of the representatives from Tennessee 3. I've listened to some of the podcasts, but I'm behind. Aaron says, look at Arby's. It looks like it's popping. And he sends me a picture of an Arby's. I'll see if I can share it on the screen with y'all so y'all can see it. It's a picture of an Arby's with cars in the parking lot. Now, I don't...
Who told you to send this? EVE?
Right. Now, what I find interesting about this, several ways. number one, he didn't go inside because I emailed him back. I said, go inside, take a picture, and let's see the people inside the Arby's. Right?
Yeah, they could just be the employees.
The thing I've always noticed whenever I've seen an Arby's that has a parking lot with cars in it, it's always overflow parking from something else. You know, it's like, oh, Ross is having a sale and they on the strip mall that is next to an Arby's. And so people will park in the Arby's so they can walk to the Ross. I've never seen a full Arby's inside. So yeah, I don't believe it. Not even in a food desert. I seen the Arby's that had people in it. So my personal belief is that these people are not eating Arby's. Now, the other thing that could be happening is that he said it's in California. And if people know anything about California, y'all know it is one of the illegal drug smuggling hotspots in the world. So a full Arby's in California could also just be a money laundering situation. So, you know, but hey, good on you. You know what I'm saying? I noticed you didn't take a picture of you in the drive-thru or you sitting in the restaurant because you didn't eat that shit. And my guess is nobody did. All right, let's get to the last email. It's from Professor Caretha.
Shit now.
Dear Rod and Karen, I hope this message finds you well. What an absolute treat to hear Rod on the Karen Hunter show yesterday. I've co-hosted with her several times since last summer, so I hope I intersect at some point when she has you back or when she has Karen on. Thank you. Yeah, it was interesting because I think she just knows me from Twitter. She thinks I'm funny on Twitter. You know, sometimes I'll see her like my tweet or retweet something. I've seen her have you on, Reese Colbert on, who I love. So I've just always been like, from a distance, being like, oh man, that's fun, that's cool. I think maybe even L. Joy Williams, but I don't want to mess up and say that and it don't be true. But I think, like, I've seen people I fuck with on there and been like, oh man, good for them, you know. And I honestly didn't know it was like a comedy, like part of the intersection of her show, because it's like activism and pro-blackness and politics and stuff like that. So I figured, oh, it's a pretty serious show. And you know, this is before I had listened to it. And I was like, just saw who went on there. I was like, oh, it's a pretty serious political black show, and you know, good for those people, but you know, not my lane. So hope everybody's just having a fun time. And then she DM'd me and was like, would you consider coming on the show? And I was like, hell yeah, sure. Like, well, I'm honored you think my silly ass tweets have a space to be on your show or whatever.
Right? I'm probably not even on her radar.
Yeah, because I think she found me through Twitter, not the podcast.
Right.
But now she does know about the podcast since I went on the show. And it's funny because when I got there, she was like, you know, like kind of behind the scenes, you know, starting or whatever. And, you know, this is a very comedy thing that people do. And it's just, you know, especially when you don't know somebody's raps or you've been burned by other motherfuckers that ain't got it like me.
Right.
And so she was like, behind the scenes, like, all right, you know, we're gonna see how you flow, we're gonna see, you know, how you fit in, and this is like Foolishness Friday or whatever they call it. And you know, I like your tweets, you're very Twitter funny, but I don't really know much else about you. So, you know, we're just kind of giving you a chance to see if you know, if you kind of fit in or whatever. And you know, I'm sitting over here like I said, like I think I joked, I said, well, I got 2,600 podcasts. I think I'll be all right. You know what I mean? And they don't know we do every podcast live. We've never edited a show to take anything out. We don't do a narrative show where we like say a sentence, some editor puts it together. We just talk like we talk. We do it 5 days a week. And the main thing I needed to know was what could I not say on the show, just so that I won't put her in an awkward position, because, you know, everybody thinks, you know, when you say that, everybody goes, oh, you can just say whatever you want. It's never whatever you want. It's radio. It's a black people show. Everyone got lines. So it sounds like their main line is just don't say the N-word, which is my favorite word. What's my favorite word? But I did so, but I mean, I've also done radio. You know, I used to call Bo's show on Sirius every day, 5 days a week. So like, he doesn't say the N-word on the show, and clearly I'm gonna respect that. I'm not gonna be on the show saying it. So I had listened to her show at this point, and I had never heard her say it. So I guessed that was probably a thing, but I wanted to be sure, So she was like, yeah, basically just don't say the N-word, and everything else, you can curse, it's serious satellite, blah blah blah. And so she had me on with Lamont King, Dante Nero, and her. And this woman B Flat, who came on to promote, she flips houses and stuff, amongst a bunch of other talented things that she does. And so it was like I fit right in. It was fun. I was just open and just talking like I talk on the show. And knowing something, having done a little research and listened to her show and stuff, I think helps. I don't know how these motherfuckers do these shows where they don't check out the other show, but and low key, when I knew that she didn't really know about our podcast, it felt like I had an advantage, because I was like, oh, she doesn't even know how good I am at this. Mm-hmm. And so I think it was kind of a lower bar, because you don't know my raps, and that's fine, but as a bar that I can clear, because it's like being funny off the cuff, off the fly, like easy. I practice. This is I train every day for this. You know what I mean? So we had a good time. She asked me a lot of questions. So did Dante, so did Lamont. We talked about the Monique special, and just a bunch of stuff. I think and when we got done, she liked me enough to be like, I really like your flow. You should come back. Maybe we could talk sports, because she don't have nobody apparently to talk sports with, or not a lot of I guess not a lot of the comedians, like niggas. I don't know what's up with comedians. Like they it's like, to be a comedian, there's just so many that don't like sports, and I don't know what that's about. But so she was like, you can come talk sports with me, since I write for Game Theory, so I know some stuff about sports. So but yeah, it was a good time.
And I could see, depending on the comedians, a lot of them got picked on by athletes, so they was like growing up being a funny guy just not to get beat up. So a lot of them was like, fuck sports.
Yeah, I mean, look, you ain't wrong. It's always interesting that it works that way, though. Mm-hmm. But anyway, yeah, I had a great time. I love how you got to share how the Karen slur never got under Karen's skin too much, but you also made a t-shirt of it. More than anything, it was great to hear Karen Hunter get just a taste of how freaking fabulous y'all are and how OG y'all are. Yeah, I think that's another thing about being independent Black. Like, there's so many people that don't know how good you are. And the same thing extends to Karen Hunter too, right? There's got to be a bunch of people that have put her show in a box without knowing much about it, and then you go, because I'm learning about her too, is talking, I'm like, okay, you're an OG in this, and I just have tangentially known through like Twitter and stuff, seeing like how many people I know that fuck with her, how many people that have gone on her show and stuff like that. So yes, it was an honor and a pleasure to be there. I had a great time. Yay! Let's see. I feel like the TBGWT connections keep coming. I ran to Roy Wood Jr. when I was in Phoenix, Arizona a few weeks ago, and I told him
seen that pic.
How I love when he visits y'all. Also, one of my former Ohio State students worked on this past season of Game Theory, of course, and I've heard JL and Karen Hunter many times, and on and on and on. So many connections. Yes, that was actually the first thing I listened to, was her having JL as Trump, and I was just like, oh, okay, Karen Hunter's pretty cool. Low key, I had seen like a couple weeks ago during the women's Final Four, like some people were going in on her on Twitter because she made a joke about, I think, Angel Reese's eyelashes or something. But that felt more like the Twitter, like, we need somebody to hate moment, because I didn't find what she said to be like so extremely offensive. It was like obviously a joke, and it just, I don't know, it just felt, and like, you don't have to like every joke, but it just felt like the response was on some like, wow, like, we need to get her type shit. And I was like, oh God, like, I'm
like, what's happening here?
Like, I'm sitting up there like, I'm going on this show in 2 weeks. I hope am I gonna get canceled? What just happened? Like, it seemed like a harmless kind of like joke. You could roll your eyes at and keep moving if you didn't like it. But so you know that, but that's Twitter. Like I feel like the most negative things get viral on Twitter anyway. But you know, at that time, but that made me go listen. I was like, what am I fucking up somehow? Like I'm about to get on this show and everybody's gonna be like, I can't believe you did her show. And I was like, no, this is fine. Like she's funny, she's insightful, she know a lot about she's like politically astute, you know. So I don't know. I liked her, but you know, that's me. I was also happy to hear y'all are aiming to do another live show this year or next. I will be there. I'm also naming and claiming it when it comes to another season of Game Theory, so I can be in the live audience this summer.
Child, me too, honey. I'm already making plans.
I'm moving to Massachusetts, so I'll be in driving distance of New York, sending lots of good energy y'all way. And I was amused by how Karen Hunter had no idea she was talking to someone who has been friends with Janelle James forever. Yeah, that was funny too. Yeah, she was like, you know, it's like Janelle James, and I didn't want to be like, you know, I was just calling her, talking to her the other day, and we were saying, like, I didn't want to like draw a name drop. Like, yeah, it's but you know, it's a small world. Like I knew Dante Nero from listening to Keith and the Girl, and I told him as much. Like, so small world, man. I was looking forward to doing that show. I wasn't really nervous about it, but I was definitely looking forward to it. And the thing is, because of this show and just my life, I've been chopping it up about current events and stuff all the time. So like anything she presented, I knew I would at least have jokes or a take. And so, you know, it was a dope black ass time, man.
Yeah, I'm glad y'all had a good time, and I'm glad that you were introduced to you know, new audience, you know, and for a lot of them, sound like it was kind of their first time seeing you or knowing something about you. And like you said, it is a small world. I think one of them knew one of the writers on the show that you work with, and things like that, right? So like you said, it is a small world, and I'm like you, I enjoy going, you know, on these shows and people not knowing anything, and then a lot of times people are very impressed by your knowledge and what you know and things like that. And sometimes that happens. It haven't happened in a while too, but periodically, you know, it used to happen where people invite me on the show kind of without separate from you. And a lot of times, you know, I actually do got my own opinion, but for some reason they just think I'm yes sir, whatever you say, master. And then I get on these other shows and people are like, oh, she's coming in here with her own opinions and thoughts and all that type of stuff.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because we don't get invited on as many shows these days, but I think part of it is we're so fucking busy and people probably assume, rightfully so, that we don't have time for all this shit, which is true. But two, I think people just compartmentalize us differently. You know, like technically I write for a sports show. This is the first time someone's been interested in my sports opinions, even though I tweet about sports and all that stuff and talk about it on the show and all the first time somebody's been interested in reaching out to be like, oh, we should have this person on and talk about sports in a funny way. That's crazy to me. You know what I mean? But I just think it's about like what lanes you occupy, how you promote yourself and all that stuff. But it's always dope to make a connection with like like-minded people that's doing their thing. Cause I feel like someone just said in the chat, the black world is small. And so like, even within that conversation, there were 3 or 4 connections happening where we knew something or of each other in ways that people wouldn't even really have recognized. And so, yeah, I appreciated being invited onto the platform. And like I said, I don't mean to sound cocky or arrogant, but I was like, I know it's radio and I know it's different. I know sometimes you got a bad caller. That we've had phases of our podcast where we took callers and they sucked sometimes, and sometimes they were great. And we had to figure out how to make it, you know, how to make that work. You know, radio wise, I've, you know, called in with Bomani for years, you know, so it's just for me personally, it was very much a moment of like, watch this, you know, Usher, watch this. Like, so when they was, I hope you can fit in and stuff, I was like, I'm not, like, I didn't want to look dismissive, but I'm like, I'm gonna fit in. Unless y'all are just gonna be out here saying some crazy, unless y'all are gonna hit play and then be like, Donald Trump was right. Listen, that's why we saying we got to insurrect the illegal Joe Biden, like, unless y'all were gonna say that, we was gonna get along.
Right, unless y'all hit play and y'all be like, these females, you know,
Yeah.
then we might have a conversation.
Yeah, exactly. So it didn't happen that way. So, and I had a good time. So, all right, y'all, that's it for this episode of the Feedback Show. We appreciate y'all. We'll talk to y'all throughout the week. We have more episodes coming. Mike Kaplan has an episode coming up this week, so that'll be cool.
And for the premium people, you have some sport movie reviews in your feed. And we also did Ball Deep Sports and pregame earlier this week. So
we did it on a Wednesday.
Yeah, so if you looking for the Friday because you missed it, it's already done.
And you got a movie review for Dungeons and Dragons. Like, yeah, we got y'all. The only thing we haven't done in a long time is a nerd off, and we're gonna get back on a regular schedule with that. It was really just New York. It was just hard to schedule those things, but and then the Hornets game was last week, but we got y'all on that. All right, y'all. We'll talk to you soon. Until then, I love you.